Hey, what's up, everybody? We have a new YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe right now. Leave a comment on the video. Share it with your friends. It's also a podcast, 3 and Out, wherever you listen with me, John Middlekauff, Apple, Spotify. We have you covered, as well as thevolume.com. We have merch. Check out. I got 3 and Out hats right now. Thevolume.com. Search the podcast. Buy some merch. The wild card weekend, or they're calling it like, forget the name, crazy wild card weekend or super wild card weekend. It's just wild card weekend. Cleveland at Houston. Like I said, Houston's an amazing story. They've had an awesome year, and CJ Stroud and D'Amico, if they were a stock, I would find a way to bet 6 figures on them right now. But I think it ends, and I think they lose. And I think Cleveland is a tough matchup because defensively, Jim Schwartz, the physicality, it's a little different animal than Indy, who, I got news for you, their defense sucks. So I like Cleveland in that spot. Now, the wild card is Flacco. Flacco's had a remarkable year, and his comeback story is if DeMar hadn't taken on death and beaten it, literally overcame death, Flacco wouldn't win the comeback award. They might rename it Joe Flacco. It's one of the great comeback stories I've ever seen. 38, 39 years old, hadn't been good for 5 years, was on the fucking couch, was taking his kids to school every day, played in the league last year, so it wasn't like he'd been out of the league a couple years, was literally on the Jets, looked terrible. A couple years ago was on the Broncos, looked terrible, looked awful. Then he comes in, he's just throwing touchdowns after touchdowns, leading a team that was about to implode because of all the quarterback injuries to the playoffs easily, where even in week 18, they didn't even have to try. So you never know. Maybe he has a clunker in him. If he has a clunker, CJ's rolling, maybe they could pull an upset because I think the Browns are favored, but it's like -1.5. But I think I like Cleveland in that spot. Miami at Kansas City. I couldn't like Kansas City anymore in this spot. I don't care how crappy their wide receivers are. I don't care how weird this season has been. Kansas City is not losing at home in freezing temperatures to Mike McDaniel and Tua. This offense isn't set up to go in that environment. So I'm shorting the Dolphins hard in that spot. I love the Chiefs this weekend. Bills at the Steelers. As of recording this, I don't know TJ Watt's status. I think it's fair to assume he will attempt to play if he's able to move around. Obviously, when you sprain your MCL, it's a problem. So, I mean, obviously, there's a good chance he doesn't play. I said it from the jump. The Steelers never should have been in that position. They should have been in a position that TJ didn't even need to dress. Now, obviously, they had to win to just give themselves a chance. And then today, the Titans took care of business. But I think the Steelers, a lot like the Dolphins, are one and adios. It's been fun. See you later. Green Bay at Dallas. This is the ratings bonanza. I mean, these are obviously the Cowboys are the biggest brand. Packers are a top 5 brand. I think Packers are about to run into a buzzsaw. And as I told Colin earlier today, Jordan Love is sweet. Jordan Love is so much better than I ever thought he could be after he had like his first good game. Obviously, early on in the season, I probably talked a lot of shit. He was terrible. Well, he hadn't played, and I probably jumped the gun, but it's football. You can only give an opinion based on the games you see. The second half of the season, that kid has fucking been awesome. He has looked like a top 10 NFL quarterback. Today, what he did I love the Packers this weekend. One, Justin Fields can't throw from within the pocket. He's thrown 5 touchdowns since the middle of November. Everyone given, the anointing the Bears. It's like, have you seen who they're playing? One, and offensively, are you guys out of your mind? This guy's not going to be on the team next year. I bet on him simply because, one, it was in Green Bay, and 2, I just thought the Packers had a huge quarterback advantage, and it was on full display today. Now, I think the Packers are going to run out of magic here. I think this is a tough matchup. In the Dome, obviously the Cowboys play better there. I think Dallas lights them up because I don't think the Packers have any chance to stop them. I do expect Jordan Love to make a couple plays. If I had to make an early prediction, 35-20. Rams at Detroit. I got to know who's healthy for Detroit. That's my first take because every time I looked up today and I had them in one of the boxes because their game didn't matter. Dan Campbell thought it mattered. They looked like they were losing a guy every other play. Even the guys they didn't necessarily lose, like St. Brown's, crutching off the field. So I'm not just going to pick the Rams yet because I think a lot of people are, but I understand leaning that way. I do think everyone wants to pick against the Eagles. And I think this, because the Eagles were playing so shitty, they threw them on Monday night because ideally you would not want to play on Monday Night Football. But the Eagles don't deserve to play anywhere that they want to play. And I think Nick Sirianni is in major trouble. And I've been saying this from the jump. I told Colin this. I believe this to my core. I am not looking for a CEO in the NFL who is 40 years old. I'm hiring you, one, because I think you can evolve as the leader of the entire team if you've never been a head coach, and most young coaches have never done that, but because you have an expertise. I watched Matt LaFleur this season, especially the second half, call plays with his young quarterback and go, you know what Matt does? He impacts every freaking game. I watched Eberflus have to fire his buddy because who knows what happened, take over the defense. They trade for Montez Sweat, and you go, you know what? Is Eberflus some great head coach? No clue. But is he a good defensive coordinator? Yeah, he is. I watched Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan with backup quarterbacks today to call plays against each other. I like my young coaches to call plays. I don't even think that's too much to ask. Why am I hiring you? To lead the group? If I wanted a leader, I'd go ask Warren Buffett if he has a good leader. I'd go hire a bunch of coordinators. I just do not know what Nick Sirianni does. No freaking clue. None. Someone DM'd me the other day. He's like, you threw out he's kind of like Tomlin or Harbaugh in terms of just leading the crew. It's criminal to compare him to those two guys who have both been doing it for a combined 30 plus years. Is Nick Sirianni some great motivator? Because sure as hell doesn't look like it right now. And I got nothing against him. I'm not trying to crush him. This isn't personal, right? I just don't know what he's doing. If I was Jeffrey Lurie, what's going on here? Because I watched the offensive coordinator, which is his side of the ball, go to Indy, and him and Gardner Minshew won 2 less games than us. And if it wasn't for the running back dropping the ball, they would have lost 1 less game than us. So the Colts team, and I understand divisions and the Eagles schedule. Listen, I'm not saying it's apples to apples, but the point of the story is you're telling me that Colts game, that Colts team was 1 drop pass potentially away from 10 wins, and we just won fucking 11? I got a $250 million quarterback. I have the best offensive line in football. I got weapons everywhere. I got a high-priced defensive line with a bunch of high draft picks. What is going on? The Eagles have to... Listen, I've been in that building. Tensions are going to be high this week. High. Now, I don't think Tampa could beat them because Baker Mayfield's limping around. I don't think Tampa's any good. The crazy thing is the best team in that division right now is the Saints. If the Saints were going into the playoffs, they would have more momentum. It's harder to win in New Orleans. We saw Tampa last year. I guess this team is better, but, the Cowboys went in there. Now, the Cowboys, that version of the Cowboys was better than this version currently of the Eagles, but won that game 75-10. Remember, Dak threw 10 touchdowns, had the best game of his career. This game could be tighter. This game get weird. And any game right now the Eagles play, they can lose. There's no way around that. Any game the Philadelphia Eagles play, they can lose. And honestly, you're not shocked when they're losing the game. I was a little shocked today when it got to 24-0. But when it was 7-0, I was like, I could see the Eagles being in for a game. Even when it was 14-0, you're like, I could see this. Maybe it was 17-0. I forget the score sequence. Once it got to 24-0, I thought, this is kind of crazy. Are they just legitimately not even trying? Completely mailing it in? Don't cowardice. Watch football all day today. Most teams playing pretty hard. Giving it their all. Trying. Watch the Ravens yesterday. Think about this. The Ravens against a divisional rival. Against a team they hate. Eagles and the Giants hate each other. Ravens and the Steelers really hate each other. Ravens, bunch of backups. You know what they did to the Steelers? We're going to give you all you can handle. We're going to play. You know why? Because organizationally, We hold ourselves to high standards. Organizationally, when we play a game, whether it's Lamar Jackson, whether it's Ray Lewis, or whether it's some practice squad guy that gets elevated that most fans have never heard of that played at some Division I AA school, that guy is going to be tasked with playing his balls off and doing everything humanly possible to win the game. And then you watch Sirianni's team today, you're like, what is going on? This is an embarrassment. And I'd understand like if they had nothing to play for. But at the time, early on in the Cowboy game, they were down like 10-7. Hey, Dallas, you guys don't need to try either. The Eagles done. Wave the white flag. So I just got the Sirianni situation. You lose to Tampa, it's all on the table. That's all I'd say. He loses to Tampa, and he's lost. Let's see, they were 10-1, and now they're 11-6. So he's 1-5 in his last 6 games. He would go 1-6 in his last 7 games, and losing the first round to Todd Bowles and Baker Mayfield. I'd say he'd be in some trouble.